Let me start by saying a couple of things to everybody. Thank you and welcome everybody to the usual Thursday Acosphere Live. This one is in English, no translation, unless somebody who speaks mostly French asks me, and I will translate a few things in French. And I will go right away and introduce our speaker today. Ian Helps is a director and shareholder of Consalia, a sales transformation company dedicated to helping make sales the world's most sought after profession. He is also Chief Purpose Officer of the Management Shift Consulting Limited. His professional focus is on helping others reach their potential through deeply connecting their personal values to those of their business. This professional concern has led his not-for-profit interests, including being a director of education for the Association of Professional Sales and a practice advisory board member for Cranfield Business School. Ian holds an MBA from Henley Business School. I saw a survey that said they're the top 50 business schools in the world. Another one said that they were 22nd, a very fine business school, and has held positions of senior responsibility in blue chip organizations such as Shell, BP, Conoco, Philips, and E.ON. Ian, welcome to Acosphere Live.
Thank you, Gilles. Real pleasure. Pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you. Let's get started. Hello, everybody from Austria. We have people from Austria. We have people from across Europe, Africa, and we will have more. So Ian, let me get into my first question.
Sure.
On your LinkedIn account, you describe Ian Helps brand as helping 1 million people to thrive through discovering, pursuing, and scaling their purpose. Why not get in touch? Wow. Ian, what is your story?
Starts with, why am I here on this planet? What brought me here? Why do I exist? And that takes a while to find that out. Eventually, I think I worked out that I wanted to help others to thrive. With a name like Helps, I can't help it. A number of people have pointed out what a useful name it is. The 1 million people is that classic BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal that we're taught in business. And to begin with, I put it out there publicly, and it sat like a weight on my shoulders. I did it. And then over time, as people started to basically help me find ways to achieve it, it's become lighter, it's become more fun, and it becomes part of the conversation, just like ours is today. So why not get in touch, Gilles, on the 1 million people?
We will. That's very good. That's very good. So how far are you down the line? Do you calculate it, or do you just let it come to you?
So I'm just over 60,000.
That's good.
And about 5,000 of those are in the Association of Professional Sales. These are the ones I measure. Yeah. And about 55,000 are in Africa.
Okay. That's pretty
good.
So
that's the ones I can measure.
Yes.
What we'll come on to is how we each have our impact. And I think of myself as this kind of stone that gets dropped in the pond with the ripples that I hopefully create. And you just don't know, do you? Who knows what emotional wake we leave behind? I just want to make sure that when I am gone, there is a very positive one left behind.
Indeed. And what else can you tell us about your story? Do you want to tell us later, or are there any other points?
I guess where it really started from, where it truly started. So we all have this journey in life where we set out with our ambitions, our hopes, our fears. And then there became a point for me where it was kind of that classic midlife crisis of, is that it? Is that all there is? Is it about just being more successful, earning money, all those trappings? And then there was this moment. And it was actually when I was sat with someone as they took their last breath. And at that moment, I lost my fear of dying. And that changes you quite a bit. And I lost fear. And for me, that was then, how do I balance what is a different way of being in the world with something very practical in business? And so this then will be the topic of my book, which is around connecting divinity, God, religion, something bigger in the world, depending on whether religious or not, the sense that there's something bigger in this world, and also staying in the world of business, not escaping, being the best version of ourselves and helping others in pursuit of something connected to our unique talents. And that's where the million people, and actually how I make it work, comes in.
Fabulous, fabulous. I am confident that you will get to a million and possibly more. So, what is the biggest opportunity you have faced in your lifetime? Why is that? And what shift did it create in you, in your behavior, and in your ecosystem?
So the biggest shift happened to me in a Benedictine monastery in northern Yorkshire at the head of a very tranquil valley. The retreat leader, Father Kevin, uttered some words from St. Catherine of Siena, which was, be who God intends you to be and set the world on fire. And like a lightning bolt, it went straight through my heart, and I stopped and I thought, and my life was never the same after that. This very, very simple idea that by being the most pure version of who I am, I could have the most impact on others, which was a massive thought for someone that had spent 30 years reading every business improvement book on the planet, beating themselves up for the lack of perfection that they felt compared with the models out there. Gosh, all I had to be was just a really good version of myself, and maybe I'd discover something really good about myself that could help others. And that, so the opportunity has come very much from that, a point in time, and also a different way of being in the world. Your life irreversibly shifts at that moment.
Pretty amazing. Touched by divinity.
Yeah.
So when I think of you, and we've known each other quite a few years, the Association of Professional Sales is a fantastic organization that connects souls and people. So when I think of you, your brand, the following words come to mind. Purpose-driven change agent,
Hmm.
focused on excellence, people's person, lover of life, friendship, and fun. What words would you use to describe who you are and why you are effective at what you do? And what skill sets have you developed to excel in these fields?
Life is one heck of a journey. Um, for many of us, we are in a part of our lives where ambition, where drive is the single most important thing we do. And some observers call that building the strongest container we can build. So there's a sense of joy, of going for it, of striving, of kind of pushing the envelope, making stuff happen that is vitally important to create the best version of ourselves up to a point in time. Um, we all get lots of skills en route. Many of the things that I'm seeing in this COVID impacted era are taking us back to the deeper things that connect us to our fellow human beings. And one of those is just the sense of um, staying curious, almost childlike curiosity. And I spend time, Gilles, as you know, with my granddaughter Cassie. She's just had her third birthday, and she asks these incredible why questions, questions that are things we've forgotten how to ask, things we just take for granted, like, Grandpa, why is blue your favorite color? I have no idea. Who would ask that? But then retaining that sense of always staying curious. I think it's a skill. It's something that matters a lot to me. So in this world of Zoom burnout, where so many direct reports are reporting versions of bullying going on, where customers say they feel neglected too often, asking those questions, staying curious and trying to find out what's going on with them really matters. There are lots of technical skills that I guess in this very, very busy world, I think we've forgotten. And those technical skills are the ability to be truly strategic, very helicopter-like, in being able to step out of this. Many of my clients are working 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. And and I feel for them. I feel that they cannot retain that strategic capability that is asked of senior leaders. So for me, retaining that, because it's when we can step out that we can really see the perspective of what it is. The one I'd really wanted to highlight right at the end was how we can support our fellow human beings through coaching, but coaching with a twist. The sales or the manuals on coaching tell us that we should stay in questioning mode. We should always ask great questions. And of course, questioning and listening absolutely are at the heart of coaching. What I have found, I guess, since I had that shift at Ampleforth Monastery, is I think I now trust myself much more than I ever used to. I look after myself more than I used to, and that leaves me more in tune with who I am. And coachees pick up on that. So what happens if you're coaching someone and you know they need something they're not admitting to themselves? What do you do when you've asked every good question you can think of and they still can't find it? For me, you have to go further. By going deeper into yourself, you put things to them that they haven't seen. So an example, I'm working with a very senior sales leader, over 1,000 people reporting to them. I was slightly embarrassed the other day when they reported to their team that I pointed out that in a previous role, I'd fed back that they were lying to themselves and their team, and that was the most useful piece of feedback they'd had in a long time. And they smiled about that. Now, that goes against every coaching manual I've ever read, and yet that person needed it. And so there's this truly caring for people in a very deep way that I think lies at the heart of how we can support anyone going through these very challenging times.
So I've written down a few words: curiosity, stepping out to have a perspective, how to support your fellow human being, trust, caring. At the center of all you're saying is really the human value, the human being. So as a leader, as a shareholder of Consalia, which is one of the foremost organizations focused on sales, changing the lives of so many salespeople around the world, what are some of the shift and transformational messages you are offering us, the listeners, and us listening to you, and you could think that we could act upon?
So I guess the first one is transformation. This world we are going through is challenging to all of us. One of the questions we get asked most often is, how do I and how do my team learn to learn faster? How do we dramatically increase our learning agility? Because we're facing a world that changes beyond most of my team's ability to react. So if I look at what senior leaders are facing, it comes down to themselves and who they recruit. So if I just start with transformation, transformation starts with me, starts with the individual. And when we run workshops, leaders are often surprised at how much is about them when the symptom they present to themselves and to others is how those other people won't do stuff. But as Stephen Covey said, that Stephen Covey, a fantastic leadership practitioner and consultant, one of the best, he said, when the energy stays with others, it gets stuck. So I can remember a senior sales leader, a woman, happened to be an American woman, absolutely berating, complaining, mad as hell about her team that weren't driving the performance level she wanted. And by asking one of those questions, and the question had to be, how did you contribute to this situation? I was left with someone that was like a wide-mouthed frog. She just went, I she realized when she stepped back on herself, when she looked at herself, she realized it was her. And by her own admission, she was very controlling, very into all the numbers, which you have to control some of the numbers, but also there was no flexibility she was giving the team.
Yeah.
She shifted. And once she shifted, the performance levels dramatically improved because her team were able to innovate in a way they'd never been before. So I guess the first thing is it starts with me. And I've probably got 20 examples of people who've made very profound shifts when they've realized that we all live in different realities in the world. So that's the first bit. The second bit is a very practical thing around systems. How many systems, let's say supporting sales, have been designed to support the sales reps, the customers, versus reporting back to management, the actions and the effectiveness? And yes, you need both. But ask yourself the question, do my systems actually support proper client centricity? Do they support the productivity of salespeople, or are they for me to control them more? And I would say I've come across one system out of probably hundreds that was that second version. So I think COVID's going to accelerate that.
Wow. A friend of mine who has actually been one of the speakers here speaks about master classes that we get every Thursday. And this is definitely one, and particularly with the sales angles and the human, the human soul that you put at the center of our discussion. So, perhaps you could share with us a few anecdotes.
Hmm. Sure. I mean, we've gone through a few. I'll go through some more. One is on the subject of reflection and how bright is the mirror that is shining up at you so you can see yourself as a leader. Um, so, global sales leader that I'm working with had just risen to a new post. He'd never had so many people reporting to him before. And he had two pieces of data he couldn't reconcile. This guy is very honest. He's actually quite vulnerable. All of his reports had rated him 10 out of 10. Literally, I don't mean 9 out, I mean 10 out of 10. All 15 of his reports had rated him 10 out of 10. That's nice. But at the same time, all of his employee engagement scores were just falling away. So you've got people who are feeling less committed to their job when your team is telling you're doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
What's that about? So what we realized when we went through the coaching discussion was he didn't realize how senior he had become. He didn't realize that as you get further up an organization, the mirror gets more and more dull. Less people are prepared to tell you the truth because they fear for their jobs, they fear for their reputation, they wonder what will happen if they're the one that speaks out, no matter what you say. And that was such a shock. So it's almost like a question is, who's giving you the very reflective mirror? Who's giving you the truth? Because we are living in a world where the truth is changing faster. And it's really, if we're senior leaders, it's often our people in the front line who are getting to see what the truth is through our customers' eyes, through our partners. Will they tell you, and will they tell you quickly? Because you better find a way of finding it out fast. Otherwise, someone's going to get there first. So this idea of the reflective mirror is, I think, mission critical for all of us in leadership.
Wow. Wow. The reflective mirror. Focusing on me, systems, the reflective mirror. A few thoughts that I've written over the last couple of questions. So let me just reset the room. Welcome everybody. There's some new people who've come in. We are on the Acosphere Instagram Live, and we are welcoming Ian Helps. Ian, we are in 2021, and this one is one that's really dear to my heart. And yet, in most parts of the world, it's not just happening in Europe, it's not just happening in Africa, it's not just happening in Asia. In most parts of the world, many women with equal or better skills than men get the short end of the stick when it comes to equal opportunity, equal pay, and things of the like. What can we, the community of men around them, do to contribute in the improvement of women's opportunities, whether they work in the corporate world or whether they work in enterprises?
So I've realized unless you're a woman, and I'm not, you cannot truly know. You cannot truly realize the full horror, the full injustice of the inequality that takes place. My introduction to that was when I was recruiting for a position, happened to be in London, and we'd gone through every person the recruitment company put our way. And we asked them, isn't there someone else? Don't you have someone else that could do this job? And there was this deep sigh at the other end and a kind of, oh, well. And someone turned up. They were absolutely brilliant, way better than anyone else that the company had put our way. It happened that that woman was black and she was a woman. Whether there was a direct correlation, I will never know, but I have my suspicions. So what I try and do is not to be very vocal publicly, but to do what I can do, which is to coach. I probably coach dozens of women right now, mentor. I have two mentees in Asia, um, both of whom are now chief operating officers in fairly large companies. And I've watched with pleasure, and one of them calls me her spiritual dad, which is kind of cool. Um, watch them grow and be there to support them. So my contribution is the ripples through, I guess, intense impact, hopefully, with a few women who seem to be making a difference. Yeah, it's the public bit. Sorry, it's the private bit versus the public.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fully empathize and understand that. So, Ian, we have listeners from around the world. What advice would you give to those among them who are aspiring to be like you, to have excellence in sales, and maybe run their own company or just work in a company like Consalia in the future when they grow up?
First of all, my first piece of advice is simple. Don't try and copy anyone. By all means, be inspired by Mike, by Zoella, by whoever floats your boat. By all means, learn from them. Be the best version of yourself you can be, taking inspiration from others. Spend your early years building the strongest container you can for yourself. Have some fun, make massive mistakes. Go for it. Don't let anyone say you can't do stuff. Follow what you really want to do and make an impact. And then there will become a point. There'll become a point when that voice of the future calls you to transform into something else. It might be the sales leader you've always wanted to be, the senior leader you aspire to. It might be like me, where I'm kind of going into some slightly different mode. Enjoy both, but they all rely on creating the strongest container you can when you're young and pushing every boundary you can find.
Fabulous advice. So you are often a keynote speaker, and I can see it just in this is your first Instagram live interview. What are the tips on public speaking and on your business skills that you would give to our audience?
I guess there's two principal ones, and I'll spare your blushes, but they both actually come from a conversation with you and Nadia in
Okay.
Acosphere. So The first one is this presence. Be present. And it's very hard in this Zoom driven back to back call world that we're in, but be present. Be in that warm embrace of everyone who's on that call, on that video call, in that conference, in that room, wherever you find yourself. Be in the zone. Chill out. Ridiculous though it seems, just chill out and be yourself. Because if you're nervous, you won't be your best. So some very simple, chill out, be present, enjoy the moment, do that bit. How do you do that? And I guess there's two pieces to that. One is do prepare thoroughly in your own way. So we all have different ways of preparing, but if you are prepared, you'll be relaxed. And being relaxed, I think, is so important. And then my favorite one is the tip I picked up from Ujiel, which I practiced just now, which is listen to some really cool music before
Yeah,
you go on. And
right.
that's what I did. I was listening to some of my favorite upbeat tracks, and I realized it was just the most chilled experience, and you're kind of in the zone then. So those are the key for me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, presence, be cool, be relaxed, and listen to some cool music. While you were listening to your cool music, I was listening to my son's and his band's music. I'm a big fan of his, as you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. So, speaking to your younger self, with the knowledge that you currently have and all the experience that you have built up over the years, what are three essential pieces of advice that you would give your younger self or a young person that is listening in the public?
So the first is be humble. There are stronger forces than you out there. If you can harness them in a very powerful, authentic way, you will be stronger. You will have a bigger impact than you ever thought possible. It starts with humility. So be humble to that, be open to it. Second one is build that strong container. Be the most powerful version of yourself by pushing the envelope. Go for it.
Fantastic.
Don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid. You can achieve amazing things. And the third one is be who God intended you to be and set the world on fire. Be the most powerful version of yourself, whoever that is, and never let anyone tell you you should be something different. You are who you are, and in your pure beauty, you will achieve amazing things.
Wow, wow. Be humble, harness the powers, and that will give you impact, no fear, and be the best version of yourself that will make you powerful. That's very, very strong. We're coming to the end of this wonderful time together. I will just ask you, would you have a final message for our audience?
A very simple entreaty, which is to have the courage to set the world on fire in your own unique way.
Wow. Have the courage to set the world on fire in your own unique way. This has been marvelous. This has been awesome. As a matter of fact, it's incredible. We started at 32 past the hour. It's 6:01. It's almost 30 minutes on the dot, and we haven't actually rehearsed it. I've just walked you through it, and here we are. Fantastic. You got so many hearts and comments on during this time. Thank you so much, Ian, for sharing all your golden nuggets. Before I part with you, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, our dear friends who come and listen every week, you will agree with me that this has been a very powerful, very enriching conversation. We will have another very enriching and very special conversation next week. If I'm not mistaken, we will welcome probably the biggest musician, classical musician on the continent of Africa, an Egyptian lady who is just awesome. So humble, but just awesome. And currently she has things that she does in the Middle East more about this next week. Her name is Amira Fouad, and we'll be delighted to welcome her here in your shoes, on your seats. Ian, thank you so very much. Very powerful. Thank you so much, Ian. This is what people are saying. Set the world on fire and very insightful session. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Ian, for your time, for your wisdom, for your friendship.
And thank you for your friendship, my friend.
We'll see you very soon. Take care, everybody. Until next week.
Everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.